We are back, Just Local podcast, and I was a little bit nervous about this one because those that know me know I'm into my rugby, and I have got a fantastic guest, which I'm sure you are all looking forward to hearing from. Matt Everard is the new head coach of Worcester Warriors, and it's nice to be able to say that, isn't it? Let's be honest, we've been waiting for that day for a long, long time. Matt, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Just for those that don't know much about you at the moment, can you just talk us through a little bit of your career, playing career, and your coaching as well?
Yes, yeah, of course. I Leicester boy originally, came through the academy at Leicester Tigers. Was very, very fortunate. Kind of sat in the slips of a lot of talent. I think I was born in a lucky year. Really, there's a lot of good players that I played with at Leicester and through kind of age group stuff. So sat in their slips and then played a very, very little bit for the first team at Leicester. The time for Wasps, moved to London. Had a great 4 years there. Absolutely loved it. It's where I probably played a lot of my rugby, and then signed for Nottingham, the Championship, which was again amazing. Brilliant city, great set of boys, cracking league. They were full time then, and then started coaching there. Really, I was club captain at the time, and they wanted to set up an academy. And being captain, they saw that I could talk to a group of blokes. Yeah. They were like, right, okay, fancy giving this a go. And I thought, I'll give it a go with one of the other players who's a good friend of mine. And we absolutely loved it. I particularly loved it. I thought, oh God, this is great. Organised fixtures we literally did trials actually initially to get local lads in. People that potentially haven't been picked up by other Premiership academies, like Leicester Tigers or Northampton came and joined us. And yeah, I loved it. And then from there, we actually organised a game against Worcester Academy, who had relocated at that point from London to Coventry. And the lads were incredible, gave them a bit of a beating. And I think probably off the back of that, they asked me to come and speak to them around, coaching and developing young men and bringing a group together. And they said, right, come and help us with our academy. So I decided to hang my boots up at 27, which was a big decision. It's quite a young age to start playing, but I always kind of had the mindset I wanted to go out the front door and out the back door. I didn't want to. Didn't want to stop through injury or being crap and not getting picked anymore. So I was really enjoying it. I thought this is a good time to stop. And then did a year with the academy at Wasps, and then moved up and into the first team, assisted with the attack, and then coached the defence. And then I flicked back over and coached the attack again. So had a really good exposure to. Very, very fortunate again, more through luck, but doing both sides of the ball. So you get a bit more of a rounded approach to the game, which was, I'm really, really grateful for. Then I was at Wasps for the dreadful day they went under,
right? Yeah.
Which I know obviously a lot of the fans and people of Worcester know and have experienced as well, and how awful that is. They're definitely the worst day I've experienced, not just in my career, but I reckon in life. It was very, very tough. And then Leicester Tigers and Steve Borthwick were very, very kind to me, reached out and asked me to go to them pretty shortly afterwards. So I went there, and if I'm honest, didn't have a particular role when I got there. They already had all their coaching team in place, but again, timing's everything, isn't it? And Steve and Kevin Sinfield went to England after me being there for 10 weeks, and I've kind of moved back up into assistant coach position, and then I've been there for the last 3 years, and now I'm here, now I'm at Worcester. So that's been the journey, really.
Fantastic! What a CV that is! Wow, no, that's brilliant. So the players that you would have been playing with at Leicester, is that like Neil Back kind of?
No, I know I look about 50.
No, oh great!
But I grew up watching those boys. Yeah. I played with. Do you know what? I was a part of this like golden generation. Not a part of. I was a fortunate latcher honour of a bit of a golden generation of talent from my age. Like I said, like very, very lucky that I think I was born the same year as a group of players that went on to play a lot for England. Our back, someone was reading out to me the other day, the back line for our kind of under 20 group, under 18s, 19s, 20s was Dan Robson, George Ford, Owen Farrell, Elliot Daly in the midfield with Faz, Christian Wade and Manu on the wings, and Jonathan Joseph at 15. So I think there's probably nearly 1,000 caps between those lot. I just kind of ran around and hit things with them, and that was pretty much all I could do.
Flanker by trade, weren't you?
Yes, flanker by trade. I liked to hit and I liked to jackal, and that was about as good as I could give. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Fantastic, and it was great. You touched upon there. You had experience of being an attacking coach, and then moved over and did the defensive coach. Obviously, a flanker can play everywhere, really.
Yeah.
My old position as well. But yeah, it's interesting to note that that's the way that your coaching career took as well?
Yeah, I think probably the starting point doing the academy was I really, really loved, because it's all about the pressure of results is almost taken away around winning every weekend, and it's all about developing individuals, which is something I'm really, really passionate about. So you kind of get that base of helping one-to-one individual players get better as on-field and off-field, obviously, and grow up. And then, to, like you said, to be able to do both sides of the ball, I'm really, really grateful for, and something I'm going to continue to try and do, because I think to be a good coach, you've got to have a good understanding of not just one area. I think it's good to specialise in an area, but have a really good grounding of the whole game, definitely.
If you can share it, how did the head coach role become available to you? What was the process to...
So the owner of Worcester Warriors, Chris Holland, who is an absolutely brilliant man, if I'm honest. He is...
Yeah, I've met him a couple of times.
He's one in a million.
Fantastic guy.
Yeah, great, ex-military, straight talking, very, very kind, very, very funny. When Wasps relocated from London to Coventry, he was a sponsor and a supporter of the club, really. Him and his three sons. And Chris wanted to help the club and saw the opportunity to do so because he moved to Coventry, didn't have a base, didn't have a home, didn't have a training facility. So Chris bought a derelict old leisure centre in Henley and Arden and renovated it and built it up and turned it into this absolutely incredible training facility. So he was really the landlord for the training ground for us, and based himself a lot out of that training ground. And him and I got on very, very well from day one, really, of meeting each other. Similar-minded around, it's all about the collective, all about the we. And then obviously Stephen Vaughan, the CEO, into that. He was the CEO at Wasps. So the three of us have worked together previously, know how to work together, like a good deep respect for each other. So that's probably how the conversations initially started. Yeah,
that is great to hear, because obviously there's a lot of new players that are being announced at the moment, and a lot of people that are going to meet each other for the first time.
Yeah.
But the real high level core is known to each other. That's a real positive.
Yeah, I think so. I think like one of the brilliant challenges we're going to face is cohesion. Bringing a group together of 40 to 50 people, really, when you think about players and staff who are as important as the players, to be cohesive and care about each other and look after each other and fight for each other on the pitch. So creating that cohesion is going to be a brilliant challenge that we're all going to face from day one. And it's such a unique thing. Rugby is such a brilliant sport, isn't it? Because it's old traditions and there's cultures at certain clubs, whereas everyone that comes will be a part of what it is, because there's nothing that currently is, which is really unique.
And what does that mean to you, like taking this club back into the Championship? What does it mean to you, kind of personally and professionally?
I think probably personally, I know it was a different club, but experienced the same kind of dread and upset at a different club around a whole rugby club and a whole kind of family and fan base and support group and everything. Rugby clubs branch out so much further than just the 15 players on the pitch. It's all the wives and partners become good friends, all the kids become good friends, and when that just goes, it's awful. So, and then I've not even the biggest bit, obviously, the fans. So I'm really, really excited and probably quite not overwhelmed, but it's emotional to think about being able to be a very, very small part, drop in the ocean, around bringing it back, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to be emotional. That first game's going to be emotional, isn't it? That's I suppose getting the players through the door on the first pre-season training day. There's going to be a lot of moments that are going to build up to the crescendo, which is a home game at Six Ways that we're all looking forward to. Yeah. Talking to the fan base, I'm one myself. You've got obviously a great following. We'll talk about the success of ticket sales recently, but before we get to that, you attended an event. You and Stephen had a kind of an open forum discussion and Q&A with fans that wanted to come. Yeah. What was your experience of that? How did you find? Because that's probably, I'm sure people that have seen you have popped over and said, "Can't wait to see you." All those, but that was a lot of people in one place. So what was your overall feeling from that event?
I thought it was pretty special. I think we'll probably look back on this process. I think you've already highlighted like a few key things. We'll always, whatever happens, we'll always look back on as being like a special bit. And I think from working backwards, the first home game will be big, training day one will be big, but that fan forum, I think, will be in the mix of those two as well, as kind of three big kind of landmarks to Chris and everyone that has brought Worcester back. It was wicked. I think I think about cities by its sport. Comes from my dad, actually. He describes each city by, so he'd be like Wigan Rugby League, Leeds cricket, Manchester football, Worcester rugby, and he'd always say Worcester's rugby city, and that was probably the biggest eye-opener realisation of that to me. Definitely.
So you got that on your shoulders now, then?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
We're all behind you. We're all
Thank
behind you. We're all behind you. I've met with you and with Stephen a couple of times, and I'm sure you're optimistic on the kind of the interest levels of Worcester Warriors coming back. But is it fair to say that it exceeded expectations when it?
I think so.
Ticket sales. And
the ticket sales. It probably is the proof of the feeling that I had after the fan forum around that it is a rugby city. Rugby fans are amazing, aren't they? They're loyal. When Worcester went under, that massive fan base didn't suddenly just turn up at Kingsholm. They may have gone for a day out because they love rugby, but they're Worcester fans and they're waiting for Worcester to be back. So
a few of them actually went to Bath so they could go see Ollie Lawrence.
Yeah, brilliant.
Niall,
exactly.
And, those guys.
Ted Hill, exactly. So they're rugby fans, but and support the Worcester people, and then they're Worcester fans. So they're a special kind of person, definitely.
Yeah. So we're talking about players, and they're obviously going to have a date that they've got to get to the club and start their pre-season training. Yep. How is the acquisition, or how is the recruitment going at the moment in terms of players coming to the city and joining?
It's going well. It's we've really well. We've put some, there's brilliant people coming. First and foremost, and then some obviously great players and practitioners in their field. I think it's really positive for us how well recruitment is gone, and how it's not been easy. It's been a great challenge, but I think the more negative outlook of it is how tough it is for players at the moment. I think since Worcester, London Irish went under, that was 189 players lost their jobs. You then throw Jersey in the mix, you're looking at over 200 players. So they're just purely it's a bizarre market that I don't think rugby's we've seen before, where there is far too many players for them. There's far too many high-end players for the amount of top-end clubs. There's just not enough spots anymore. So Worcester coming back has given people a lot of people a chance and an opportunity. They've got a point to prove, which is quite a powerful thing in itself, I think.
Yeah. Do you think the Championship obviously have now added in 2 teams into the league? Do you think that's something that the Premiership are going to try and get to happen as well? If we've got the success in the Championship, not necessarily us or another team, but like to go up and then build that to a bigger.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think it makes sense. This is purely just my opinion. There's no. I've not been told this by anyone, but it makes sense that the more home games, how do clubs make money? And it's home games.
Yeah.
So 3 clubs go under, everyone's lost 3 home games.
And that was the point I was trying to make. You've got 10 home games. You're not going to bring in much money.
No. So
you need those.
You need those. Whether they get it to 12 or 14 or however they get it. That the concept of growing the Premiership makes complete sense, because as we've seen across the last few years, it's tough for clubs financially. So how can we help grow the finances? It's home games. Yeah.
And what's your focus for this first season? I mean, obviously new players coming in, but what's your real kind of?
Yeah. I think it's a really good question. I think probably what I've alluded to a little bit is really embrace the challenge of bringing a group of people together from scratch, just complete clean slate, and get them to care about each other, get them to fight for each other, get them to work for each other, and get really, really tight. I think we do that, will become really hard to beat. And that's what we speak about. Be a group that care for each other, that fight for each other, and that bloody hard to beat. That's a really good foundation to build on.
And is that what your academy did for you when they beat Wasps? Is that what you kind of?
They were hard to beat. They were a bunch of tough inner city Nottingham lads that wanted to fight and scrap for each other, and they were brilliant. So. Yeah, potentially that has shaped the way I look at building a team. I just think long term. I think this is a long term project we're in. This isn't like a quick shootout. This is long term sustainability on and off the field. So let's get the foundation right initially, which is getting tight, caring about each other, and being really hard to beat.
A bit of insider knowledge. Obviously, I've walked into your office and I've seen your whiteboard that had 200 plus names on it.
Covered up.
Yes,
I
didn't see names.
Covered up.
I saw where it was.
Saw a lot of whiteboards. A lot of covered up whiteboards.
Yeah. But having seen that, how do you select players that you think are going to believe in
Yeah,
that philosophy? Because, like you said, it's because of the way that the rugby's gone. There's a lot of choice probably for a new team to set up, and therefore, obviously, everyone's going to try and please you. But how do you kind of recruit those players? Is it
yeah. I think there's probably 3 to 4 stages. I think probably firstly is you get references on them as people. So rugby is a brilliant circle, isn't it? It's so small. Like everyone's got a relationship with someone. So everyone's a bit connected. And if you're a good person, people will give you their time. So get references on people. Watch vision. Watch them play.
Mhm.
Watch not just clips, but watch their whole game. See how hard they work. See how they communicate to their teammates. Off the ball stuff. Um, Statistics come into it. A bit of Moneyball definitely comes into it, but not the main thing. It's more to back up your gut and what you feel from the references and the vision. But it's always good to know. And then probably the most important bit is meeting the person. Meet that person a couple of times. I think we've tried to meet everyone twice that's come in here. So
tour of the stadium?
yeah, and like the first one, just like break the ice a bit and just get to know each other. Like not try to avoid too much rugby stuff and just chat.
Yeah,
To get a good feel for each other. Them getting a feel for me as much as me for them. And the second time round, getting to the nitty gritty of the rugby.
yeah. And looking at who's been announced so far, see the one that was announced yesterday. I don't know when this will go out, but Billy Twelvetrees was announced yesterday.
Yes.
So you've clearly gone for, and Matt Kovacic. You've got
Yeah.
some real talent, but also experience. Is that part of your plan? You got a bit of
Yeah, definitely. We had a look at the demographic of the top 4 teams in the Prem, the URC, and the top 14 because to look at squad makeup really, like age profiles and experience, and what stood out across those 3 competitions, that kind of the leading teams was big bookend of experience, 30 plus, a
right.
big bookend of energy of youth coming through, kind of your 20 to 23, 23, 24, and then a good sprinkling in the middle. So when a 34-year-old decides to move on to the next thing, you're not replacing him with a 21-year-old who might not be ready. You're replacing him with a 27, 28-year-old. So that's what we tried to do. Good bookends, really good experience of guys that know what it takes to build a team and be hard to beat, of your 30 pluses, and then loads and loads of energy of these 20-year-olds that just run through the door every day and can't wait to throw themselves into it with that composure of a bit of sprinkling in the middle.
Amazing. Good to hear. Well, I know a lot of my Droitwich Rugby Club team are asking questions about academies.
Yes.
So if we can, I'm sure you've obviously got the team, the focus, the 36 to really consider at the moment. But how does that look? Obviously, you've got great experience in academy. So is it something you kind of hoping to?
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely relaunch our academy year one. Hopefully, I think what we've discussed, myself, Steve, and Chris, is doing it around the new year. Hopefully before then, slightly. But the academy and the ladies and girls team,
Amazing.
we're going to definitely start in year one if we can. It'll be. It was going to be gradual, like everything. Progression isn't a really straight line. We'll start slow and we'll build it up. The plan is we'll start as an under 20 academy.
Yep.
If you look across, Premiership junior academies, they are under 18, but we'll open up a little bit to under 20 with the hope of picking up the late developers, the guys that maybe just miss out on a Gloucester.
Yep.
An 18-year-old out of school that has just missed out, so we can pick them up into that under 20 bracket. Yeah, my little boy's August 31st birthday. Teddy is, so I know about the late developers.
Oh yeah.
So try and pick a few of those diamonds up, and that's the plan.
Exciting, very exciting. I mean, and therefore academy games be played at home, and even more sport to watch.
Yeah,
the 6 ways, which is very, very exciting. Football as well is coming there, so
yes.
you've got it all happening under those roofs. And you've got Warriors have always had an amazing tie with like local community. And do you know the plans to kind of build on that? What's the thoughts and the aspirations coming?
I think if you would have seen the very first job role we advertised for was a community manager, like a development officer, because of how important it is. Before we advertised for assistant coaches or physios, we were like, right, we need to get the community bit right straight away, which was very much driven by Chris and Steve as well, obviously. So we know how important that is. We know how much of a rugby city it is and how many amazing local clubs, schools, community centres are that are heavily invested in rugby. So getting that person in place initially will be massive. The academy will obviously help that, reaching out to younger players, as will the ladies and girls teams reaching out to female players. So one step at a time, but we also know how important it is and have gone to try and recruit that position very, very early.
Yeah. And have they been recruited?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Is the job still open? Are you still
I think they've closed application,
right.
but
I didn't know if we needed to.
No. But I think the next step of the process is happening. Definitely.
Yeah, excellent. It's very exciting. And do you know at this stage any kind of pre-season matches or the plan for pre-season matches? If you can't share names, I'd get it. But like, is there anything kind of?
I don't think we've announced them yet, although I think I may have accidentally done the fans forum one of them. But we'll have two.
Yeah.
We're planning hopefully of one to be a championship team and one to hopefully be a premiership team. But a little bit TBC. So, yeah. Unfortunately, the fixtures don't quite align. You know, we start in October,
yeah.
And obviously the Premiership starts in September. So by the time we're looking to play pre-season games, they're already thick into the competition, their competition. So, but hopefully we can align something with the Premiership team.
And does the champ have like another cup at the same time? Is there any kind of like?
It's
in conjunction with it?
The fixture list hasn't been announced yet, but we have kind of been told, but not fully confirmed. I don't believe there will be a Premiership Cup this year.
Right.
I believe it'll be the champ. But again, like this is dependent on when the fixture list gets announced a little bit. But so far, that's what we've been told. Yeah.
Amazing. We did speak originally about your property journey.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be remiss of me not to talk about property because obviously the line of work. But would you mind just sharing, just because I think it's a good story that you at an early age, when you had reasonable income, decided to buy a property?
Reasonable. Yes, it was. No, you're right.
Not putting words in your mouth.
No, we back when I was playing in the when I was kind of 16, 17, they contracted players at 16. So for your last 2 years at school, now it was very, very modest, kind of, very like an apprenticeship almost. But it was still something. And I was only 16. I was very fortunate that my family are from Leicester and I was playing in the Leicester Tigers Academy. So, I needed 20 quid on the weekend to go out with my mates and mess about. That's all I really needed. My parents, I said to my parents, what should I do with this? And they said, both of them said, don't spend a penny. We do the food shop for the house, and they bought me a clapped old Peugeot 206 for my 17th birthday. Classic. And bought my clothes for me and drove me about, like mum and dad do. Yeah. So I kind of just sat on it, if I'm honest, and didn't really spend it at all. I had my 20 quid in the weekend, and that was it. And it got to 18 and had a couple of years worth of this kind of almost like apprenticeship, very, very modest wage, but it was, like I said, it was something. And I fully intended on buying a soft top BMW with it, and then it was something like all 18-year-old lads want to have, and got pretty quickly squared up by my old man and said, absolutely not. We'll buy a house. So then obviously I looked at apartments in the middle of Leicester, and I was like, no, mate. And did the old classic and found the worst house on the street in one
of the best roads.
Yeah,
worst house on the best roads. Yeah,
exactly. And it is a cracking road actually, but it really wasn't much. It's a small little place. But we bought that at an auction, and very slowly over time did it up a little bit, and I've still got it now. So, and that was when I was 18. And it's been rented out to Tigers players ever since. Even though I moved on to Wasps and Nottingham, and like I said, if you're kind to people and give them your time, then they'll help you in return. And the legend of a team manager at Leicester has always helped me fill the place.
Right.
And so that's and it's if I'm honest, we probably wouldn't have been able to have the wedding we had last year if it wasn't for that, because we pulled a little bit of money out of it, paid for what ended up being a completely carried away wedding, but you do get caught up in it sometimes, don't you? So
that investment and not buying a soft top BMW way back then made sure your wife was very happy on the day, and
more than worth it.
Even more important.
It was more than worth it, absolutely. So it's been the flagpole, the base of our finance, really. It probably then paid for us to the rental income of it, then ended up allowing us to pay for another one. So we've now got a couple that really helped.
Definitely. Good advice to anyone out there. And you've got 2 boys, is that right?
2 little boys, Teddy and Milo, 5 and 4. That's right.
Someone's birthday this weekend.
It's Milo. Yeah,
Wonderful.
Milo turned 4 on Saturday, and he's having his little party this coming Saturday. I think we've got 23, 24 kids running around the garden on Saturday, including, I think, the Kovacic Albies coming, and the Cruiser twins are coming. The 12 trees, I don't know if they're 4 are coming. The Bassett's 3 are coming.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, so it's going to be...
So all the dads are going to be off in the corner
Yeah.
talking shop.
Yeah, the lads will be drunk, the dads will be drunk turning over the bounce castle, I think, whilst the kids are manning the barbecue. That's the plan.
Fantastic. And home is Leicester still, isn't it? So you're travelling, you get a bit of thinking time between...
Yeah, I think we live in a lovely little village that we love, just on the outside of Leicester. I think sometimes it's good to keep your family out of the bubble a little bit of an escape. I spoke to a few head coaches and they said if you can do that, do it.
Yeah.
Because especially when it's like an amazingly supported rugby city, sometimes you do want to get out of it and not be in the bubble. I think it's important to refresh. So, we chose to do that. You know, my mum and dad live 10 houses down from us, and my wife's family live in the next village, literally 90 seconds away. So we are, family's very important to us, and we're inundated with babysitters, which helps a lot as well.
Ace.
Yeah, it's ace. So we're going to stay put for now. Definitely.
Sounds good. Well, obviously, if you do need to find a property in Worcester,
I will.
I know someone who could possibly help out. Is there any advice you could? I mean, I'm kind of sat here listening. It feels like your journey, when you reeled it off at the beginning about your experience of playing rugby and where that got you to, and all those bits and pieces. That's given you an amazing platform for this, really, hasn't it? It feels like everything you've been doing has been leading up to an opportunity like this. Is that?
Yeah, I think I'm firstly, I'm extremely grateful and fortunate to be a part of what we're doing, and I am definitely just a drop in the ocean of it. The people at Six Ways, your Lauras and your Beth Readers and that gang, Jill, that have been there since literally day dot, it feels like, and we've been through the whole highs of some of the amazing teams that Worcester had to the incredible low of the day the doors got locked to now the excitement of accruing back. They've been through the whole roller coaster, and I've been here a handful of days really compared to them. So I'm very grateful to be a part of it, and also very, very fortunate for the experiences I've had. I think I've had 5 head coaches in the last 24 months, which when you're in it can be a little bit up and down sometimes, but you learn some amazing stuff off some very, very brilliant coaches. So yeah, very lucky.
I don't often plug previous episodes, but Laura came in actually, and it was the clip that we've used to get people to listen to. It was about when the lights went out, and it was quite an opening kind of conversation that we had about how it felt to be part of that team, and the ticket ladies, and the core team that are still there, which is amazing. And I guess for them, they're just probably excited. Nervous.
Do you know what? They've been amazing. They've absolutely held my hand through the last kind of few weeks in everything that is Worcester and Six Ways. I've said this a few times now, but I remember coming day one after a couple of days kind of trying to get to know people, and I mentioned to Steve, I said, mate, it's like they have a big family. It's like they're, when you go down to your local club, down to your Droitwiches or your Lutterworths, for me, it's like they're like a big family, and they've all been there for bloody ever, and they all know each other. And he said to me, no, they are literally. He's her husband, and he's his brother, and that's their mum. And I was like, oh right, okay. So Lee and Ryan are dad and son, and Beth and Des are fiancés, and they are actually one big family, which makes sense for the kind of the feel of the place.
Yeah, and they are fully committed to that place. I mean, there was never a minute or an hour that you couldn't get hold of them to talk rugby if you wanted to.
No, they've been great.
So you're gonna pay them back when it gets underway. I know we're not talking about the success of a season, but in terms of championship tables and stuff like that, what would be a good season for you? Where would you really kind of?
Yeah, I think it's how the fans feel is really important initially. I think if they're driving to Six Ways really excited about the team that we've put out and what they saw last week, and then they drive home, whatever the result, are incredibly proud of the effort. I think if we can create excitement on the way in and a feeling of pride on the way home, I think that will be a big, big success.
That's a perfect place to end it, I think.
Thanks, mate. Thanks so much for having me.
Goosebumps hearing you say that. I can't wait to be in the crowd listening and watching it all take place. But
Thanks, mate.
you've got the city behind you without a doubt.
Brilliant.
And we're looking forward to seeing it all unfold. I think credit to the guys, the way that the players have been released recently has really helped to build up the enthusiasm as well. It's a cracking idea the way it's been done. So
done a great job from there.
So there we have it, the end of another episode. Thank you ever so much for coming on, Matt. Been amazing listening to your story and also hearing about the plans for Worcester Warriors. We'll look forward to seeing you again on Just Local Podcast in the near future.